All right, Lo. We're here. We're doing a live. The draft is less than 24 hours away. It's 22 hours and 44 minutes as we fire this thing off about 15 minutes late. We said 6. John, thanks for being in here early. However many of you are in here early, I can't see you all, but thank you. And we're going to try to interact with the people because they're hot. It's everyone's got their pick, Lo. Everyone has a player or three in mind, and if they don't take that player, they're going to think it's the end of the world,
Yeah.
and the NFL has done a great job of spacing this thing out so you can stew on it for
Yeah.
24 hours and then stew on it for 24 more hours, and it's a 3-day affair.
It really is money. And I tell you who's done a great job of playing the cat and mouse game, and that's none other than Jim Harbaugh and Joe Ortiz. You see what they're doing. It's like the Chargers said, besides their quarterback, besides the running back, everything's on the board. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just like it's so they're gonna talk about a smorgasbord of players that could be taken. I know they want to beef up the offensive line, but it's just interesting saying the Chargers are saying, man, there is a lot of holes, or there's a lot of people that a lot of individuals could fit the need of this Charger. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens.
yeah, and I'll go back to Joe's and Chad's presser from last week. It happened after we did our prior episode. Went up for it, threw a few questions at him. Felt like I got a couple good vibes out of it. One thing I'll say, when we first talked about Dexter Lawrence, we did a whole episode kind of centered around that, and we both agreed we would trade 22 for Dexter Lawrence straight up, not think twice about it. And people thought we were crazy because they value what they don't know. They love the idea of what could be. And what we tried to share was Lawrence is better than any player in this draft. Period. He just
No
is.
question.
It's not a deep draft. Could Arvell, could any of these top 5 players take your pick, right? Bailey, whatever top tackle, Mauanoa, or Ioane, the guard, or Tate, the receiver, or Downs, the safety, or Styles, the could any of them be better than maybe, but we don't know. And that's why we said, hey, you want it?
It's a guaranteed thing.
It's yours. And look what he ended up going for. Number 10. Number 10 is what it took to get Dexter Lawrence out of New York, a top 10 pick. And I love the move for the Bengals. I love it. They spent money in the offseason. They added an edge in a trade. They recognized that they lost, I think, 6 games that they scored 30 points in. And they're like, let's go get the best interior lineman in the league. And I think, whether it's Chris Jones or Dexter Lawrence, they do kind of different things. You saw what the cost was. And that's just the reality, man. I know you're excited about what 22 might be, but we know what Dexter Lawrence is, and I love that move for the Bengals.
Oh, you have to think about the guy who they have on the other side of the ball. We talked about Herbert, but there's a guy named Joe Cool and Joe Burrows. You see the way this guy, who he is and what he does, and of course, let's take it tongue in cheek because he has a lot. He has some big time superstar weapons at receiver. But like you said, when you go get a Dexter, a guy that can sit in the middle, that can impact the game, and that's what people don't understand. If you talk about a tenth, this guy was so 22 wouldn't have got it done. You don't think that Harbaugh was on the phone with his brother saying, "Please don't let
Yeah.
this happen." They would have gave 22. I'll take trade and your second and your third. Just trade it because he is that type of a player that he has that type of feel for the game. And so if you get a player like that, that doesn't have to sack the quarterback, that doesn't have to go get you 30 tackles, but he can still impact the game by just doing his job. And that's taking up 2 and 3 guys, letting other guys free. He's a space eater. He can put pressure on the quarterback. He pushes the pocket back. He makes outside pressure pass rushers their job that much easier. So you're absolutely right. I would have did it, and you see the Bengals, they did it.
Yeah, and I think they were in on him. I don't know. I'm not going to say I know that for certain, but I do believe they were in on Lawrence, and I think New York did a masterful job of just holding out. And our man DJ did a perfect job of explaining it. For whatever reason, we got edges galore in this draft, but we don't have any interior defensive linemen, or at least we do, but they all have some issues. Peter
Right.
Woods had a great 2024. He didn't have a great 2025. Caleb Banks, by measurables and athleticism, is a top 10 pick in this draft. He's had 2 foot issues. There's maturity questions. There's motor questions. Um, You could probably put Hakeem Meador as the best interior line, defensive lineman, even though he's an edge, but he might be better as an. So, like, when you have those questions and when you're Cincinnati and you've drafted Miles Murphy in the first and you've drafted Shamar Stewart in the first and you've got Boye Mafe as an unrestricted free agent out of Seattle, you need a D tackle. And if you're sitting at 10, you're like, well, what do we do here, man? There's like, that's what they need. And so it lined up where, that was for them. And then the other one is the trade for A.J. Brown. And it sounds like that's a done deal with the Patriots, according to Adam Schefter, that it's going to happen after June 1st, but there is an understanding that he is going to be moved. So I would imagine whatever that pick is at 31, it's being done for the Eagles. And then he's going to move from Philly to New England, and they're going to move their one for A.J. Brown and reunite him with Mike Vrabel, who had him in Tennessee for 2 years, and he turned into a legit number one receiver. That's what he was in Philly. He's frustrated with the way the offense is being operated out there. Doesn't like having Jalen Hurts as his quarterback, so he's on the move, and they're happy to give up 31 for that. And I think for the Patriots, and you saw how much money they spent on their offensive line and draft capital they spent on their offensive line and how much money they spent on defense and bringing in guys like Milton Williams, and they have great play, Carlton Davis and all that, that when they looked at this wide receiver class and they're like, all right, it's 31. We've got the money to spend. Are we really going to get an AJ? Are we going to get a number one receiver at 31? No. So I think that's kind of how that lined up. And I think for the Chargers, do they need a number one receiver? No, I don't think they do. I think certainly A.J. Brown would make them a better offense. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think it was a need, like it was a need, an absolute need for the Patriots. And same with Dexter Lawrence on the Bengals.
And we, Monday, before we, I know you're going to, make the transition, and who do you think the Chargers going to get tomorrow? Or, but is there a guy right now that moves the needle? If you said, hey, the Chargers going to be picking here at 22, what you're hearing around there, if you're looking, people you talk to around the league, is there a guy that's unhappy somewhere that this Charger team would say, you know what? Okay, we missed on Dex. Who's that guy? Who's that value guy that's still there, you think, that's unhappy that you would say, I could see this. Here's an outside shot, but this is something Chargers can maybe move away from 22.
Yeah, I don't think it would be 22. I just think in terms of who – look, there's going to be – we talked about this last week, right? There's going to be players that get cut. There's going to be players that are asked to rework their deals and they won't do it, and they're going to move on. And I think that's where you have $40 million to spend, and you could take advantage of those moments. Brandon Ayuk's interesting because Mike McDaniel was with him in San Francisco. I don't think they're going to be able to trade him. I think he's going to be cut. He was a hell of a talent when he was healthy. You know it, Lo. You're up there. You got to see what he can do. I don't understand. I think there's a lot to unpack there. A guy that was willing to have his contract voided, that refused to show up at the facility, that didn't want to come to practice. Like, there's a lot that you got to unpack there, which is why I don't think there's any chance you have a trade. Even though, because of that void, there's very little guarantees. But I don't know, what you would want to give up for that. I think it's more of we'll just take a flyer and see if we can get him right, and then he can cash in next year. So I think there's that player. I think depending on how the draft shakes out, that's when you start dipping back into that free agent pool of the guys that are left. The edge market. We've talked about the edges that are still available that you might, if you can't get that edge, what you might be able to go after. I'm seeing here in the comments, CJH0685, Low, that player would be Kayvon Thibodeau, but don't need to give up your first. No, you don't. And, we talked about this probably 6 weeks ago, and it was something I heard on another pod that the GAC guys, the Guilty as Charged guys, had a commenter write in with a question about it. And it was intriguing. And it goes to, we hear Jordan Tyson and the Giants at 5, or we hear about, that they want a receiver and they want to try to help out Jackson Dart. And if that stuff doesn't break right for them, could you just swap? And again, this is not me trying to get rid of Q. I'm just saying, if they draft a wide receiver and you need an edge, let's say they get a receiver at 22, and then you just swap Q for Kayvon. And it's like, hey, here's a receiver that Dart should be really comfortable with. A lot of these short route, these intermediate routes, these yak routes that Quentin's really good at, because you got Malik Neighbors that can take the top off of defense. And you're not going to use Thibodeau. So now you got your receiver problem kind of to fill out that room. And now we've got Thibodeau to fill out this room. He's not better than Mack. He's not better than Thule, but he's a great third rusher. Is Q better than Neighbors? No, but he's going to fit in well with them, and it's kind of like that's a swap that I could see lining up.
Wow, and that would be a swap that if that lined up, I think Chargers fans who say no when you can go get a pass rusher, because you know that we want offensive guard, and they're talking about, hey, look, we want to strengthen the offensive line, but Khalil Mack, this guy is still the ageless wonder, great pass rusher. We know that, and Tuli, great pass rusher, but you need some depth at this, at that position, because your secondary, that they like, your secondary is as good as your guys are up front in the trenches. You can't have Khalil out there 67, 50, 60 snaps a game. You can start him off like that, but you're going to know you're going to wear him down and he won't be as effective. He's not an overpowering guy, and that's what he uses, power, and he's got that, he can jack guys up and get underneath them, and he needs that. So he exhorts a lot of strength. It's not like he's going to beat you with speed or slip. He's more of this guy going to hit you and then boom, throw you off because he's physical. So that uses a lot more strength. So you have to address that pass rushing need for this Charger on the edge, and also continue to build in the trench as well.
Yeah, and I'm looking at the list of who's out there, who's still out there. And, there's Hassan Reddick's out there. Joey Bosa's out there. Leonard Floyd is out there. Danico Autry is out there. Cam Jordan, A.J. Epinesa, Dante Fowler, Kyle Van Noy, Taekwon Lewis, Derek Barnett. I mean, there's a lot of players out. Jadeveon Clowney, Manny Ogba, Marcus Davenport, Dwayne Smoot, Jihad Ward. I mean, there's still a lot of dudes. Are they,
when you're looking at those guys, Money, because you're looking at those guys and you're talking about how much gas does those guys have to think? Right. Are they going to really come in and really spare Khalil the way that you need him to? Or are they going to spare Tuli the way? So were they held players in their day? Were these guys unbelievable players? Yes. And I think that's a question that, only the front office is going to be able to say, okay, if we do this, yes, this guy's going to give us 15 and 15. Okay, Khalil gives you 20. This guy's usually 15. Okay, now we got 30. How are we going to find those other, for that spell on the opposite side as well? So it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
Yeah, and I think, to me, look, there's Leonard Floyd is 34. Joey Bosa is 31 and perennially injured, and I don't know if you'd want to come back. Right. Hassan Reddick is 32. You can get into the younger players that have been disappointments. Gross Matos, A.J. Epinesa, that just didn't quite have that juice that their teams thought they would when they were higher draft picks. I mean, you can get into kind of that. Bryce Huff is retiring. To run
Van
a business.
I like Van Noy. He's a solid player. He's that veteran guy, can come in,
He's 35.
And there you go.
I mean, there you go. Preston Smith is 34. Manny Ogba is 33. That's the thing. And if you're, Cam Jordan is 37.
He's done.
And it's just like that's sort of what you're looking at. So that's where, to get into is I've run a million of these mocks now. And I know I'm kind of going through the comments, and I see John says, I've run at least 200 mock drafts, plenty of good options. And what I and here's Bolt Gang, Ioane or Mesidor, I think that's, to me, that's the big, I think it's edge, just because of what I've noticed might be available at 55 for edge versus if you go guard. If you, we talked about all these trade back options, and I still think that's probably number one of what they'd like to do. If someone wants to jump up, and this is the other thing for people about the trade backs is, remember, they have 5 picks. What are they missing? They're missing a 5th and they're missing a 7th. So if you just trade back a couple spots, okay, well, now you got your 5th back. Now you got 6 picks. And picking up a 7th is not hard. You could even probably trade back a couple spots, get a 5th and a 7th. And now you've got your 7 picks. Now you've got 1 in every round. 7ths are worth anywhere from 1 to what? What would the first pick in the 7th round is worth 4 points. So you could easily trade back a couple spots, and if a team has got extra, has got 2 7ths, they'll flip you one of those, and they'll flip you their 5th, and now you've got 1 in every round. So trading back doesn't mean you got to get greedy, and you need, if we're trading back, I better get 2 3s, or I got to get an extra 2 and an extra 3. Well, yeah, if you trade out of the first round into the second round, yes, you're going to be able to probably pick up a 3. If you trade back with Arizona because they want to come get Ty Simpson and they decide they got to get ahead of Philly, it doesn't feel like the Chargers are in the right spot for that move, but maybe they are because Howie likes to move around the board so much. and they may be thinking that someone could jump up to 23 if he's still on the board after the Steelers pick,
Right.
and they want to get ahead of that just in case. And now you're taking 34 and 65, 30, 34 and 65. Great. Okay, well, now that worked out. But what I'm getting at, Lo, is when I do these mock drafts, and I've got a couple of them pulled up right now, it feels like edge and then guard is because you've got Farmer, you've got Dunker, and a lot of these mocks, Rutledge, even though there's a lot of heat on him, he's still sliding a little bit, and Pregnon's sliding a little bit. I feel like you can get that guard at 55 versus what edge is there here. We can just do it, right now, and I'll do it through 3 rounds and just kind of let one of these run real quick and start draft. So, and by the way, Ioane is almost never there. In this mock, he ended up getting taken by the Lions at 17. So there's Proctor, who's still there, that is tackle, guard flexible. So that's the possibility if you want to go guard there. I think it's a little too rich for Basantis or for Pregnon or for Rutledge. So here I'm looking at the tackles, Lomu, who might be able to kick into guard. I don't really think so, though. Proctor, who we talked about. And then you've got the edges. You've got Hakeem Meador. You've got T.J. Parker. You've got Cashas Howell. And if I were to take one of those, let's just go with, I think of all these, I probably like Meador the most. He's 25, but on those NASCAR packages, you can kick him or Thule inside, and they are a force to be reckoned with. So when I draft him and I get to my 55th pick and I look at my interior offensive linemen, I've still got Keelin, Rutledge, Jalen Farmer. Dunker ended up going off, so somebody liked Dunker a little bit more, and he went earlier. So now I can just take Keelin, Rutledge.
Right.
If I were to go to edge, what edges are available? You still have Derek Moore, who I like. You still have Romello Height, who I like. But to me, I would much rather have Keelin, Rutledge at guard and Meador at edge than reaching to take Pregnon or Basantis and having Derek Moore or Romello Height. Like that's the games that they're going to play. That's when, what they're going to try to figure out when they're sitting there at 22.
Yeah, and to your point, I think people have to realize when you're saying that you can go get this guard, and if he's a little light in the ass and he can't maybe perform at the level, you know what? You're gonna bench him. So now you might have wasted your first round pick. At that pass rusher, you got NASCAR, and you're talking about athletic ability. You don't have to be as strong. You're talking about just see ball, get ball, and you just cut him loose. And that's why I kind of like that pick too. Because now you say, hey, look, just use your athletic ability, go get the quarterback. And sometimes at guard, it could be a little tougher at that time. So I think you look at where this defense is and just the depth. I'm with you there. I'm with you.
Yeah, and I think, like in this one that I'm running, it's got a bunch of different trades. Let's go through some questions first because I know a lot of people got a lot, and I don't want to get too far behind. Is the top 20 really the only blue chip players? It depends. Hardcore, Heineck. I think it just depends on the franchise. Some teams are going to have 10. Some are going to have 12 in this draft. Some might have 15. I don't think anyone's got 20. This sounds like the draft is very, very light on high-end talent. So I don't think you have 20 blue chip players in this draft. I think the number is probably more in the 14 is probably the max when you're talking about it. Like if I go to, let me just go to the overview. Let's go to top 300. Reese, Love, Mendoza, Styles, Downs, all still blue chip. Delane, Bailey, Fano. I think is a blue chip, but he's got 32-inch arms for a tackle. So, is he really a blue chip? Or are you a little Ruben Bain? Is he a blue chip? I think it's sensational, but he's got 30-inch arms as a defensive end. There's a concern there. Carnell Tate, he does so much really well, but he's not sensational at anything. He's just rock solid receiver. Is that a blue chip? I don't know. Jamar Chase is a blue chip receiver.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't say Carnell Tate's. Mawanoa, he might have to kick into guard. Ioane is a blue chip. The guard is a blue chip. The guy loses no reps. That's why he's not going to be there at 22. And if he were, you'd sprint in with it. Mekhi Lemon's not huge. He's not built. He's compared to Amon-Ra. He's not yoked like Amon-Ra. Like, he's really good and he's got solid hands, but he is probably 15 pounds lighter than Amon-Ra. Like, when you're working over the middle, though, when you're making your living there, that's to me, that's not blue chip. Jermon McCoy, if he doesn't have a knee, he's a blue chip. And then, like, Kenyon Sadiq, he ain't Brock Bowers. I don't think he's Colston Loveland or Tyler Warren. So, Monroe Freeling's a one-year starter. Dylan Thieneman, maybe. You might be able to put blue chip on him. He's pretty freaking special. But he's a safety. How often have you ever heard of safety being talked about as a blue, right?
Right.
I mean, you might have 12, you might have 10 blue chip players in this thing.
If that's the case, you think teams this year are going to be more poised to move up and down? It's like Dexter got moved.
They want to move out.
Yeah, that's why Cincinnati gave up the 10th, because, like, who's there? Not really a great blue chipper. So a lot of teams may be willing to move up and down. This you think it's going to be a lot more trades this year?
Well, I think teams want to trade. I just don't think if they're going to be able to. So,
right.
Yeah, I'll trade up. You want me to trade up from 12 to 7? Sure, but I'm not giving you a 2. I'm not giving you a 3. I'll give you a 4. Like, that's what I think the problem's going to come in, because so many teams probably have grades that are similar on players 15 through 45 that you could see Zion Young, the edge, go at 18, and you could see him go at 35, and no one's going to blink. Cashas Howell, he might not go till pick 38. He might go at pick 17. Like, it's just because he's got 31-inch arms, and he's a defensive end. And it's just like things like that, are what's dogging this class. Is there seems to be like issues with every one of these guys. So many of these guys. Casey Concepcion, he's my favorite receiver. I freaking love the guy. He is walking electricity. But, man, he drops a lot of balls. And that's, we had experience with a guy that dropped a lot of balls as a first-round pick, and it ain't great for them. And they wear it, man, and fans get on them. So it's kind of one of those where I freaking love watching that guy play football. It is so fun. But he has got I think he's had 8 drops in each of the last 2 seasons. That's a lot of freaking drops. Yeah. So it's things like that, that you're dealing with. All right, let's go through some of these low. I'll let you go first on any of these, and then I'll follow up if I got anything else. Money and low, moving back the best option, adding a 2 and 3 for pick 22, being a great outcome.
Yeah, I think when you look at it, it depends on who's there. And I think you're going to say the same thing, Money. When you look at the 22, yeah, you're going to trade back if you're going to trade back if no one's there that you like. If your guards are not there, your pass rush is not there, you go back to 2 and 3. And you're talking about not a lot of blue chippers that just jump off the board. You say, this guy is a game changer for the next 10 years in this league. There's no guy, who's that going to be? There's not a lot of guys that are going to be here for 10, 15 years at a franchise. So if you're in that position, I don't think it necessarily hurts you, but I don't necessarily think it helps you when you don't have necessarily just game-changing guys in the draft.
And remember, like, everybody's got they have the same list. There is a value number attached to each pick. And if you think you're just going to get like the top of the second and the top of the third round for 22, like I'm looking at it right now, Miami's 43 and 75. That's 670. That is 685 for 780. So now you're getting a 2 and a 3, and you're not even getting you're not getting anything till a 4. So you have to go all the way up to 43. Like, if I take Arizona's 34 and 65, that is 825. You would still owe them 45, which would end up being your 4th rounder. So you'd have to give up your 4th to get their 2nd and 3rd, and you'd be giving up 1 and 4 to get 2 and 3 from Arizona. Like, there's very little cheat in it unless you have a really deep draft with 25 blue chippers. And now the one thing that could work in their favor is there are 7. It feels like there are 7. Let me get into this top 300 so I get them all right. I feel like there's 7 tackles. I think that's I feel like that's what it is. I feel like there's 7 tackles. Let me get to it. Fano, Mawanoa, Freeling, Proctor, Lomu, Miller, Ianachor. 7. So if you get to and then after that, there is a big drop off. I mean, like, huge drop off in terms of evaluations. And even in those 7, some people don't like Proctor. They think he's so big, but doesn't show that strength and that, they still have issues with him. I like him. I don't love him, but I do like him. Monroe Freeling's a 1-year starter. Mawanoa might have to kick in. Fano's got the short arms. Lomu, they think's a little light in the ass. Ianachor didn't start playing football till East LA JC.
Wow.
He's very raw, but he's really good looking. But so that's what could happen, where you could have one of these teams that's sitting there, as I'm looking at it right now, at 25 for Chicago, 26 for Buffalo, 27 for San Francisco. Any of those teams back there that would want to jump up to get that tackle, knowing that, okay, if there's only 2 left, Philadelphia's definitely taking one of them. And what do we do? Cleveland's taking one at 24 probably. So, like, what are we going to do here? So that's where you could end up maybe getting a little bit more juice out of the squeeze than otherwise, because offensive tackle is a premium position. Edges, I think, they're all right. Go ahead, Lo. Sorry.
No, you're hitting the nail right on the head, because I think when you look at the guard, the Chargers right now, they have their starting offensive line. Yes, would they like to beef up the offensive guard? Absolutely.
Yeah, they need a guard.
But if you're saying, hey, look, if there's a tackle, premium tackle there, and you can move up, or someone's going to give you their 27th, you only drop back a couple spots, and your guard may still be there because because the particular team you're trading with saying, hey, we want a tackle. They're saying we need that tackle. We need to jump up to 22. And now you fall back and you pick up another pick in the 3rd or 4th round. I think that's something that the Chargers will entertain. This Chargers organization and the staff and Ortiz and Harbaugh, those guys can be working the phones, making deals, making things happen. And they always, and they're not going to just pick someone just to be picking. It's going to be the right person that they feel fits this organization best.
Yeah. I mean, and they are kind of a BPA team. They took a running back last year because he was the best player available. And I think they took Joe Alt instead of a flashy receiver because he was the best player on their board. And I do think there is a little bit of that there, which is why if it's safety and it's the Eneman, you're wearing your Purdue top right now. He lit it up at Purdue, lit it up at Oregon. He is super versatile and can play all over the field. If he's a blue chip guy that slides because he's a safety, then they may just take him and say he's so much better than anyone else we have on our board, and we couldn't trade down because no one wanted to trade down with us. We're just going to take the best guy. So, that's possible. Hernandez, Peter Woods at Clemson kept their DC talking about a top 10 prospects in Woods and Parker. I don't know about Parker. I do think you're right about Woods. Coming into the draft this year, everybody had him. Some people had him as the number 1, prospect going into the draft after 2024. I think Peter Woods is very much in play. I think, especially if you tell me I get to give Peter Woods with all of that, with all of the athleticism, all of the production from 24. He's a good sized guy. I think he's 6'3". What is he? 6'3", probably 215. I'm sorry, 215. He's probably 6'3", 315. Let me see if I can get to his measurables. NFL draft. This thing moves so slow for some reason. Hold on. Let's see. Where am I? Let's go to defensive tackles. Peter Woods is 6'2.5", 302. So he's really good, man. He's really good. And I think had he had a good year, then he's not going to be there at 22. So I think he's definitely in play. If Dexter went for a first, what with the Giants? We talked about Kayvon. Trade down with San Francisco, pick a corner. Well, yeah, Mark, that's a possibility. Certainly. I mean, you've got, especially if McCoy is if you're comfortable with the knee, I think if McCoy was sitting there at 22 and they were comfortable with the need, they'll just stick and pick and be like, "This is a top 5 talent. This is a legitimate number 1 corner that's sliding because of the ACL." And corners are starting to rise a little bit. A lot of people like Chris Johnson out of San Diego State. A lot of people like Colton Hood out of Tennessee. I think you could see those two maybe creep into the first round. Chris Johnson especially. So that's who wrote that. That was Mark. Mark, that works. Low player would be Kayvon Thibodeau. Already talked about that. QJ improved each year. Thibodeau declined each year. I think you're right. I think there's truth to that. I'm not looking to ship QJ off, but understand that. By no means am I looking to do that. I'm just saying after a draft, based on what you take and what you need, that's when those sort of discussions can come up.
Yeah, and like you're talking about, when you're talking about the corner position, you think about this league, it's a pass-happy league. You very rarely see a team line up and say, we're going to run the ball 30, 40 times a game. You see teams saying, hey, look, let's throw the ball around the yard. Can't necessarily hit the quarterback. You watch, I think Seattle's going to be a tough out for the next couple years because they got a great offensive line. They got a defense. They play in the trenches. Yeah. They got great running backs. Seattle is going to be the team to beat. And I think the Rams said, okay, let's try to get in this and try to beef up ours as well. You seeing now these corners and these receivers, you got to have some corners because these teams are throwing the ball. So corners, I think it is starting to creep up, and you get a premium corner, you don't let him leave. You don't let him leave. So it's going to be interesting just to see at that pick at 22 if the guy's there, who's the Chargers, what do they have on their board? Because we know they got guard, and that's the obvious. And everyone says, God, you got to go for a guard. You got to protect Herbert, which we know you have to do that. I think when you think they're going to zig, they're going to zag. I would be shocked. Even at 22, they get a guard.
If it's Ioane, they will. If Ioane is there, they'll run that card in. I don't think there's any question. He's got to be a top 10 player on their board, and the only reason he would fall is because I would be floored if he was. If he was, they would be on the clock for 1 second, and it would be called in. As soon as they announced that it wasn't Ioane to the Steelers at 21. That call would be put in. So Dan asks, what if the guards aren't there in the second round and it's the weakest spot on our team? What do you do then? So, look, is it possible? Sure. But I think it's incredibly improbable because it's not I think when I'm looking, I've got 6 guards that I'm comfortable with, and I would assume most teams are comfortable with. Farmer, Dunker, who's a projection because he's a tackle kicking into guard, but he looks like he's a perfect fit for a wide zone scheme. He's going to be a better guard than he is tackle. I like the athleticism of Farmer, Rutledge, Pregnon, Basantis, Ioane. I think out of those 6, I would be floored if all 6 were gone by 55. It would be a real curveball. If they were gone by 55. So I think you're going to – now, look, if there's a run on guard, then maybe you can trade up, and you sacrifice a 4th to get up, with your 2 to make sure you get the guard, so be it. Then you can do that. But to me, one of those 6 is going to be there, and I would be comfortable with any of them. Yeah,
and especially when you're talking about 6 guards that you're comfortable with, 6 guards that are, draftable. It's just hard. If you're not, look at quarterbacks, it's very rare you see even the best positions, receivers, you see run on those at times. If you got premier tackles, of course, but 6 guards, that means that you got receivers are being passed on, linebackers are being passed on, quarterbacks, running backs, and 6 times that you're just going to go with a guard and that means tackles are getting skipped. So just the way the draft is set up, not that they shouldn't be drafted and not that they can't be drafted, but the probability of that happening because the way the draft is, there's so many other needs for teams. That's why the possibility they won't be there. They'll be there.
And so this is to John. If there's no difference between 15 and 45, it's not a reach to take Basantis in the first round. So let me kind of clear up. I did a poor job of maybe describing that. What I'm saying is, depending on the team, like let's just say it's the Chargers and the Chiefs. The Chargers number 45 player could be the Chiefs' number 15 player. And the Chiefs' number 17 player could be the Chargers' number 42 player. That's kind of what this draft is being described as. It just depends on wherever Basantis is on the Chargers board is where he is. And they're not going to reach to take him because they're going to have somebody ahead of him probably that they would rather have at 22. But what I'm saying is there are teams out there that have a first-round grade on Basantis. There are teams out there that think Basantis is a mid-second rounder. And that's the case for Cashas Howell, Concepcion, Mesidor because of the age. Like, that's the case with Zion Young. Some people think he's a top 15 player. Some teams, other teams think he's just kind of a one-trick pony and a little bit stiff. And so they've got him as more of a second rounder and a great, set the edge, run defender, not enough juice, not enough counters in the pass rush game to legitimately be a double-digit sack. And there are some that love him, that think, hey, you know what? I want an edge that does that. If my guy can set the edge and he does one thing well in the pass game, I'm good. We'll figure the rest out. And so, that's what I'm saying. That's kind of what this draft is. It's not that each individual team has all of these players graded that close. It's that depending on what front board, whatever you want to call it, vertical board, top 150, whatever you want to call it, the teams have, they're all so different. And these players are moved around between all of them. Going back to the Peter Woods point, I got our friends at FanDuel, the odds for the number 22 pick. If you want to get into that, they got Peter Woods and Caden McDonald, the two defensive tackles, as the favorites, plus 800. They've got 1, 2, 3 edges. Next, Hakeem Meador, Keldrick Fault, and TJ Parker. And then they've got the aforementioned, you're wearing your Purdue shirt, Dylan Thieneman, at it's plus 1,200 because of that probably best player available idea, that, hey, if the safety slides, you can make a case. I mean, Tony Jefferson was a scout 2 years ago.
Right.
And if you need that third safety to allow Derwin to stay and be that big nickel and be that dime backer. And if you put someone like Thieneman up there up top, you're cooking, man. You are cooking. So I think that's why he's on there, because that could be the safety slide. Derwin was the 17th pick. Kyle Hamilton was the 14th pick. Cooper DeJean went in the second round. Wow. It happens, man. It's just it happens for whatever reason. That's a position that tends to slip pretty regularly. Could you see Joey Bosa returning? Probably not. But you never know. But if I had to guess, probably not. Caleb Downs, best player in the draft. Only player I've seen certified future gold jacket coming from a Michigan alum. Well, all right, Christopher. That's your
everyone's got an opinion.
Exactly. Okay. I guess we'll let the Hall of Fame know. Do me a favor though, while you're there getting that information, let them know that Lowe needs to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, thank you.
That's what we need.
I think if you keep reading those while you're thinking about, I think that if you look at it, the guard's not going to be the one. He's going to probably go top 12, top 15. If you said, hey, where am I picking with the Chargers? I'd be bet if they don't trade at a position, it's going to be a pass. It's going to be defense. I really believe that.
Yeah, I think, again, I think so much of it, too, is just how it falls.
Yeah.
Is there a run on the edges? Did TJ Parker go at 18? Did Mesidor go at 19? You never know. And then you're sitting there and the best available edge is Cashas Howell. And you're like, wow, we really like him. But, man, he's got those 30-inch arms. I don't know what to do here. So, I think that's where it can get tricky. And if those guys are going higher, then guess what? Another position group has fallen. And that's where, Sadiq may be there. And is it a luxury pick? Maybe a little bit, but he might be a blue chip player, and one of the wide receivers. Don't know how they have them graded, but, there are things that Denzel Boston does that would fit in great with what this team needs. Mekhi Lemon, again, he's tough as nails. If you want to play lat on the outside a little bit more and you just want to get that slot, then okay, fine. Depending on KC Concepcion, like I said, I love him. He can play outside. He can play inside. He's electric, but he's got drop issues. So, I think there's a lot of different things that can happen. And back to the point about why not just take Basantis, I would. I got no problem with that. I love the guy. I'm fine with that. So, but I don't know if they are. All right, let's rip through some more of these. We're anxious. This is CJH because free agency didn't go as we wanted. Lose Adafe, lose Zion, don't sign a second guard. Yeah, I think. And again, remember, the second wave of free agency is going to be part of that. So if the draft doesn't go well after free agency didn't go the way, I shouldn't say well, doesn't go the way you wanted, remember there's still going to be potential for more trades. Elijah Molden was a major part of the 2024 team, and he was acquired in August for a 5th-round pick that they're paying off this year, or for a 7th-round pick that they're paying off this year. So, like, Teair Tart, how big of an impact has Teair Tart had? He was signed in August. So, like, there's still Low. I work at Copper River. I want to golf with you.
Let's hit them.
There you go. Point break par. Hit them up. Money Low, we know the needs. Stick and pick. Do you think they'll draft on needs or BPA? Yeah, I'll start low and then you can take it. I think needs and BPA probably line up with edge.
I 1,000%. I agree with you. It's going to line up with edge. If the guard you don't want, if he's not there, you are going to get an edge because the team needs that, not just wants that, and they got to have that for the depth. You're talking about a team that's ready to win now. This Charger team, the window is open. You have to be able to put pressure on the quarterback. Yes, your offensive line needs to get better, but you have pretty solid offensive line. Yes, the guard could be a shaky point, but you got your center always. Sometimes your guard's not going to be every time by himself. The center is going to be unblocked at times. You can always slide over and help. You can keep it back in. So certain positions you can help at times. When you're talking about being able to put pressure on the quarterback to change the way of the game, you got to have some pressure. And Cleo and Teal and those guys, Thule, they can get it done. But you're going to have depth at that position in order to go. You look at Kansas City. You think about what the Raiders. You think about Denver. You got to have a guy to go get the quarterback. That's just this league.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt. That's why those guys get drafted and why there's going to be a run on that position. Offensive tackles, and edge rushers. Get the quarterback, protect the quarterback, start with the quarterback, next most important position, protect the quarterback, next most important position, get the quarterback. That's what this game is all about. And that's where the runs go, and that's where the best players are. Parker, 25 sacks. He's not 25. Look, everybody likes who they like. You like TJ Parker? Fine. I just like Mesidor more. I don't care that he's 25. I just don't. I think if you can drop him in with Khalil, and I'm fine if Parker's the guy. I like TJ Parker a lot as well. I just like Mesidor better. Not a big deal. I'm not the guy drafting him. If they take him, great. If they take TJ Parker, great. Even if they take R. Mason Thomas or Cashas Howell, great. I think they add something that those other two guys, Thule and Khalil, it's very different from what they have. So BPA, don't get a guard. We're going to have doubts until the season starts. Understand it. But remember, they won 11 games with no Rashawn Slater and no Joe Alt for 12 of their 17 games. So, that's – and with Bradley Bozeman at center. This year we're projecting – and with, a guard whose name I will not mention, who just every now and then decided, I just don't feel like playing a series. I'm just going to go hang out over here for a little while.
My hand hurts.
Let's see what's going on over here for a couple series. And they still won 11 games. Alt is back. Slater's back. Biotish is going to be a massive upgrade. And, whatever you may think about Cole Strange, at least he's going to play every snap. He's going to play his ass off every snap. And I think that's going to go – and he's going to be playing between Joe Alt and Tyler Biotish. And you're going to add Charlie Kohler, and you're going to add Alec Ingold to help block as well. Like, to me, just all of that is a massive upgrade. Even if Trevor Penning is there at left guard, which I don't think he will be. Far too often in that presser, they said, we are not done with the offensive line room. So they're not done with it. So there's going to be competition. They're going to I guarantee they draft at least one, if not two, offensive linemen in this draft. I believe they are going to draft two. I think they're going to draft someone with center flexibility. Keelin Rutledge is probably guard center flexibility. Proctor is guard tackle flexibility. Dunker is guard tackle flexibility. So I think you're going to see something like that. And if they go Dunker, then I think you'll see a center drafted in the 4th round probably. And I think if they go Dunker, where he's got the tackle flexibility, like if they go Dunker, you'll see that center. If they go Rutledge, I think you'll see someone that has guard tackle flexibility a little bit later. Dunker and Rutledge at 55 available. Yeah, I agree. In your heart, you think we're taking edge or trading back? What do you think, Lo? Taking edge or trading back? What do you think is going to happen tomorrow?
If the guy's there for edge, I guarantee 1,000% I'm taking edge. You have to, and that's what people have to realize. And I don't think you've done a great job saying, but I don't think they're understanding what you're really saying. You talk about 12, a team that won 11 games, and 12 of those games you didn't have your two starting tackles. This team, you have to realize, you got three, not one, not two, but you have three new offensive linemen, almost three Pro Bowlers, all pro type of, two all pros, and maybe a third just Pro Bowl. Think about what that you were able to get in the playoffs, and now you have three, but two for sure are going to be maybe the best top 210, top 310. I wouldn't pick. There's not three other tandems out there that I would pick over Alton. No way.
Totally agree.
So that's what you're getting back. That's what you're getting back. That's why the Charger fans, I understand you wanted to keep Zion, and I'm with you. I think Zion is better than the guards you got, and I get that. But sometimes you have to take some chances. But I think what you got at the tackle position, be able to protect the edges, protect your quarterback, this team has gotten a lot better. I know everyone else is too, but you got two all-pro tackles on one team, and they didn't play last year.
Yeah. And again, I think they're going to add a guard or two. I really do. We'll figure it out when we're doing this in a week, if I was right or not. But I would be floored if they aren't adding a guard on the first 2 days that is going to compete for that left guard spot. And now you feel a lot better about it. Now you feel a lot better about Cole Strange at right guard. And if it's Rutledge or Dunker or Besantis or Ioane, at left guard, now you're feeling really good about that group. So let's see. Great to catch you boys live from South Australia.
All right, mate.
That is Jake. Rod, what up, fellas? What's happening, Rod? Much love to you as well. Jack, best fullback of all time. Best play-by-play of all time. Wow, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Low will flex, and I'll just keep talking because that's what I do. Ortiz, 2 pretty good drafts. Expect another good one. College, Zion Young, 11.5 sacks, 3 years. Falk, 10 sacks. Parker's 25. Again, Hannah, great. Parker's your guy. We get it. Totally fine. Stats aren't everything. It's sometimes it depends what offensive lines are gearing to slow down. And I appreciate that Parker had 25 sacks in 3 years. That's great. He's also on a line with Peter Woods, who was also creating a lot of pressure. You don't know what Zion Young was dealing with. Stats don't necessarily match up. Trayvon Walker had 9.5 sacks in 3 years at Georgia, and he was the number 1 pick, and he just signed a $150 million extension. So would I have taken Aiden Hutchinson over him? Abso-freaking-lutely. But he's still a pretty freaking good player with 9.5 career sacks. So in college. Most of my mocks, BPA. Hello, everyone. What's up, Pappy? Website to get the Bolt the F Up Cup. You know what? I think it's probably the Believe Network Instagram page. They should have a link in that bio. Let me see if Lindsay might be able to chime in here and let me know. But hello, fellas. Just sitting down. Thank you. And jump in here, Lo, if you want to say anything. I'm just ripping through these.
Go ahead. Rip them, buddy. Rip them.
What's up, Andrew and Pappy? What happens to all the cap space if we don't use it? I think you'll see them use quite a bit of it. It's going to go you're going to, Joe Ortiz in his presser, if you didn't see it, talked about getting these extensions for Derwin done, for Thule done once the draft goes by. And I do think there's going to be second level free agents, street free agents, and all of these players become they no longer count for the comp formula at the Monday after the draft. So I think you're going to start seeing some action there, perhaps at wide receiver, maybe at guard, at edge. You're going to see them build some depth there. There could be a trade. Let's see what else we got. Yeah, I think we're pretty much at the end. A lot of what up lows, a lot of bolt ups. Draft, expect the unaccepted. Low. All right, here we go. Let's wrap with this. So Parker or Falk, I'll take Parker all day, every day over Falk. Let's finish with this. And thanks, everybody, for popping in. Wow, this thing is already at 49 minutes. So maybe, here we go. Lindsay, she is adding a link right now for a for how you will add in a link to the mug. So I guess keep an eye here. She will add it in the comments. There it is in the comments. Tell the story about the Sean Merriman rookie dinner.
Oh, yeah. Shoot, Sean was a rookie, and shoot, you got to go and take care of all the veterans. So we go to nice steakhouse, and guys are ordering Don and Louis the 13th. I'm like, oh my, yes, ordering bottles. And it was crazy. I don't know who else was rookies with him. So the first 2 rounds, they have to split the tab. I think the bill was like 25,000 racks. 25,000, bro. Not 10,000, not 10,000, not
2,500, 25,000.
I'm talking about guys were taking home abusive 400 bottles of wine. I mean, guys get pretty ridiculous with this rookie dinner stuff, man. And it's like, Sean's like, oh my God, just looking at this, like, are you kidding me? So I'm telling you, I'm glad. And when it comes to that, I'm kind of glad I wasn't the first rounder to go through that, because I'd have been like, oh my goodness. But then I at least I would have had it. So I think I could have handled it. But that rookie dinner deal, I've been at a lot of them, a lot of years. It's played so long. That is one of my favorite times of the year.
Oh, I bet, man. Yeah. I feel terrible for those guys.
Exactly, right?
All right, Lo, you ready to do some mock drafts?
I'm with you.
Let's do a couple of them. And I'm on A to Z Sports now instead of PFF. I wasn't crazy about PFF. They haven't updated their board at all, and it just feels like so many players have moved. I feel like theirs is much more accurate compared to kind of like all the stuff that we're hearing now. So let's.
I was horrible last week. I was horrible. I'm switching. I'm not going to guard. I'm taking a DN the first pick. My grades were it was so poor money that they couldn't even add it up. It was like, wow. I was like, dude, I felt horrible.
All right, here we go. We're running, and let's see. So the 5 picks before us were Jamal McCoy to the Lions, Kenyon Sadiq to the Vikings, Peter Woods to the Cardinals, who were involved in a trade, Keldrick Falk to the Cowboys, Caleb Lomu to the Steelers. So now here's what we got in front of us. This is according to their board, which I appreciate. Like PFF has still got KC Concepcion at like 40-something, and pretty much everyone's projecting him as a first rounder. So BPA here are Concepcion, McNeil Warren, the safety, Cooper, the wide receiver, McDonald, the tackle, the defensive tackle, Terrell, the corner, Proctor, the tackle, guard, Mesidor, Blake Miller, Caleb Banks. Interestingly enough, Caleb Banks had his doctor send a letter saying he's going to be ready for football activities in June. And we know that Jim Harbaugh loves him some Caleb Banks at the Senior Bowl. So that's an interesting one right there. There's a little we have TJ Parker and Denzel Boston, Basantis, Zion Young. All right. What do you want, Lo? Give me a position, then I'll throw a couple names at you.
Yeah, give me edge rusher.
Okay, edge. You've got Hakeem Meador, who paired with Ruben Bain, helped guide Miami to the championship game. You got Cashas Howell, who is lightning quick, but a little bit smaller, who would be a little bit more of that Oweh. He's not built like Oweh, but he's that speed guy that you drop into that room. Really fun watch. And you got TJ Parker, who is super high floor, just freaking rock solid. Still needs to Clemson guy, probably needs to develop that, sort of second move, a little more counters kind of stuff. He's just kind of that, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of all 3. I got no problem with whichever one you want to go with.
I'm going. Give me Florida. When you think about the pass rusher, I like it because Jason Taylor. Yeah, Mesidor. Look at Jason Taylor, who he is. Look at his illustrious career with the Miami Dolphins. You watch what he's teaching these guys. They're ready. It's not by coincidence these guys went out there with these short arms that everyone's talking about and dominated. I got Ricky Jackson on the phone, Hall of Famer, outside pass rusher. You can get it done. You look at Lawrence. Oh yeah, Lawrence Taylor didn't necessarily have the longest arms. I mean, this guy but he was athletic. So, and you're quick with them hands and understand the movements on those things and how to handle technique. And that's what Jason Taylor has done. He has taught those guys how to beat the big punch, how to out-remove those guys, how to get skinny. These guys are dominant pass rushers. So give me the pass rusher that's been trained by Jason Taylor. They're ready right now for it to play on Sunday.
All right. So we got Meador. And the nice thing about Meador is, like I said, he is probably the best pass rushing interior defensive lineman in the draft. You can kick him inside no problem if you want to create some havoc with Thule and Khalil Mack on the edges. All right. Second round, here's what we got. Best available. We got linebacker Anthony Hill Abney, the corner, Stowers, who I don't think is a good fit. He's more like a big wide receiver than a tight end. I love Jacob Rodriguez, the linebacker. He is a tackling machine. Ooh, I like Stukes, the safety out of Arizona. And like we said, you got your two guards sitting there. Here's Keelin Rutledge, and here's Jalen Farmer. So you want to go guard? I'll make guard, corner, wide receiver.
Give me the tackling machine. Let me get someone that those guys can fill. Now he can run, play line. So I think this is going to be more.
You want that over guard, Lo?
Who's there at my guard position?
We got Rutledge and Farmer, and I like Rutledge a lot.
Rutledge.
Okay. So we're going to go Rutledge here at 55. And now we get to our third round, and we're not doing any trades. We can do the trades, but I just as soon do it here where, all right, now, so Rutledge we think has guard center flexibility. So I think that's where, like the best player on the board right now is Sam Hecht, who I think would be a great, pickup to play some backup center, just to cover yourself in case Biadasz right now. But I think with Rutledge, you can maybe cross-train him to be your backup center. So
good value.
Let's go safety, corner, wide receiver, tight end. Let's see. So Skylar Bell, he's a fun watch at wide receiver. Ted Hurst, small school, Georgia State, freakish measurables. Another wide receiver. Bryce Lance, wide receiver, North Dakota State, but, didn't jump up in competition. Brennan Thompson, who is lightning quick. A lot of these are wide receivers at the top of this board. A lot of people are projecting Delp, who got very little action at tight end at Georgia. Despite the fact Brock Bowers left, he didn't really fill that vacuum. So that's an interesting one there. I like Sam Roush a lot out of Stanford at tight end, if you wanted to go that direction. A lot of people like Kilgore. He's he's a freakish safety, but probably needs a little bit of work. You can go that direction.
The receiver Thompson, they said he's 4. He can fly, take the roof off.
Brandon Thompson can fly, and then Ted Hurst out of Georgia State is your just freak athlete and crazy measurables. 6'4", 206, giant freaking wingspan, catch radius, but small school and sort of unproven. Didn't really light it up at the Senior Bowl like a lot of people had hoped. So I think to me, I think Hurst is a very interesting one. Would give him to Sanjay Lal and let him work with him, do his magic. I do like Skylar Bell.
I'm gonna let you tell me which one you want. I'm gonna let you have that one because
I'll tell you what, Lo. I think I would probably take the tight end Roush, but that's bias. I mentioned it. I called the game against Stanford. I end up falling in love with these guys that pop on a field when I see them.
Right.
And to me, he's just such a Harbaugh guy. He's a badass in the blocking game. And he's he's super athletic. He's got short arms. But to me, I think it's just such a protection where if Gadsden gets hurt, I think he can be a receiving tight end and do fine there. If Kohler, something goes on there, I think he's totally fine being a full service Y. But again, I think between Ingold, Kohler, and Gadsden, you're kind of covered there. I just think he's a really good football player. Here, let me just go to all and get rid of, and so I can see who else is there. Oh my God, Jacob Rodriguez is still there. So I don't think that's going to be the case, but if Jake Rodriguez is there, that's who we're taking at linebacker and not even thinking twice about it.
Yeah, if he's there, I like a tackle machine because you want a guy that can play off the double team and when the three techniques able to hold and let your linebacker run and do those things. You want a guy that can tackle, stick his nose in there. So it's hard to get great linebackers, and Jake Rodriguez can tackle. He's always got his nose for the ball, so I wouldn't mind it.
Yeah, and it's funny, Caden Barnett, the Vanilla Gorilla out of Wyoming. He's a fun watch too. I hear you there, Philip. So yeah, I mean, we would if this were the case, Jake. Even though you have Deion Henley and he's going to get an extension as well, I just think this is one where it's so far outpaces what you have available on your board. And there you go, Hakeem Meador, Keelin, Rutledge, Jake Rodriguez. There's one. We're going to do this next one. We'll do one more, and we'll do it real quick, just to kind of show what happens if you end up taking if you don't take edge in the first round, kind of what it looks like. All right, so again, it doesn't line up, man. You know what? Let's just, for the sake of this, let's take Basantis and reach for the guard.
Yeah.
And see what happens. What kind of edges you're looking at 55. And here we go. See, this is so dumb. It's why I hate these things. Malachi Lawrence is not going to be there at 55. Malachi Lawrence is being projected as a first rounder now. So I can't, in good conscience, take him because there's zero chance he's available at 55. Derek Moore is there. I like Derek Moore a lot, Michigan guy. So I think you would end up taking Derek Moore. And then in the third round, so you got your guard in the first round, you got Derek Moore in the second round. And here in the third, you've got, let's see what we got. Oh, the big citrus is there as your defensive tackle. We talked about him last week, Low. Antonio Williams, really good slot receiver. Zachariah Branch could be fun now. You remember Zachariah out of Georgia, all them bubble screens. He's crazy fast.
He is.
That could be a fun player to give Mike McDaniel to have, and that'd be a fun one there. So there you go. I think that's two different paths, right? Would you rather have Meador, Rutledge, and Rodriguez, or would you rather have Basantis, Derek Moore, and Branch? I think that's kind of the stuff we're talking about. So,
and would it spit out the grade now? Would it tell us what we got? Because I'm excited.
No, this one gave us a B. Gave us a B. I didn't see what we had I didn't see what we had. I think we can probably get the same players. Let's see if we can get the same players. If we
excited,
we'll do the Meador Rutledge thing and see what it gives us. So we'll do Meador. We'll do Rutledge. I'm assuming they're still going to be there based on where they. Yep, there's Rutledge. We'll take him. And then let's see what we got. If Rodriguez makes it to us, and he does,
wow,
we'll take him. And our grade is a B. So there you go.
Didn't move any.
Fun stuff, man.
Yeah. Didn't move any.
I think if you told me I had to choose between Basantis, Moore, and Branch, and Meador, Rutledge, and Rodriguez, I would take this one. This would be the more favorable to me. So
because it fits more the Chargers' need, in your opinion.
I just think so. I think Rutledge having that. I just like Rutledge selfishly, and I love Meador. I don't care about the age.
Right.
Give me that guy for 5 years with Justin Herbert smack in the middle of his prime, with Thule in his prime. Thule will be younger than him. Like, you're covered there, and I think those guys can recap. Look, I think they can win the Super Bowl this year if they get this right. If this draft breaks their way, and if the second wave of free agency breaks their way, I think they can win a Super Bowl. I really believe that. So I think getting Meador, I don't care about the 25 just because I think he's ready to. And I'm not, and I think those other edges will be ready as well. I think Cashas Howell can make an impact right now, and TJ Parker can make an impact now. I love the flexibility to kick. I love the idea of kicking him inside on that NASCAR package, man. I think he could really wreak havoc.
Yeah.
And Rutledge is an a-hole, man. He's a real a-hole. Like, he really beats the hell out of people, and he'll be a lot of fun on that offensive line. You know how salty Rashawn gets when football comes on. I mean, those two guys next to each other, they will wreck shop on the left side of that line. That'd be a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, yeah, it would be.
Yep. All right. I think that's a couple mock drafts. We're now over an hour. You guys are great. Thanks so much. And by the way, thank you, Philip, for reminding me about Barnett out of Wyoming, the Vanilla Gorilla. He's freaking hilarious. He wears makeup like Latimer from the program. It's like he's a freaking riot. He's a psychopath. I love it. All right. Thanks, everybody. That was fun. That was an hour 4. Lowe's in a hotel. I could tell by the water he was drinking. So we're going to let you get back. I don't know if you're talking to some people if you're in West Lafayette, Low, and you're going to get a cream.
No, believe it or not, money. I had to come see. I had to come see it. I wanted to come up, post some personal. I'm here at the draft, baby. I'm gonna go down and.
Oh, you're in Pittsburgh.
I'm in Pittsburgh. Absolutely. There we go. We'll see what these Chargers do. Number 22. So the Chargers had a little gathering tonight, and I seen Sean, seen lights out, and got to catch up with some of the guys. So man, it'd be interesting. The draft's here. It's always exciting.
Well, hello, you buried the lead, man. What the hell?
You know what, money? Hey, I
share
get
the
to hang
inside
out
info. Give us the scoop.
Right. I get that. You got the scoop. You're the man, the myth, the legend. That they don't call you Matt Money Smith for nothing. When I grew up being man, I'd be like Matt Money Smith if I can.
I feel terrible. It's 10:30 there, and I've kept you inside. You need to get out and go party with the boys, man.
No, hey, you know what? I know I'm getting old because I'm taking my black butt to bed right now. I'm tired.
Right on, man. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Next week, we'll talk more about your about the golf tournament.
Absolutely.
The draft, and make sure that people know. Appreciate y'all. Thank you for joining us for the live. And Bolt Up. We'll be back next week.